Hey, I'm live and good morning. Today, I'll just call this Marriage Monday. I'm not planning on going live, but my AI reader is glitching. It has a whole attitude. So, what I'm doing is giving a summary of today's blog post, which is not only advice and analysis for family members, friends, coworkers, but it's also a compassionate confrontation if you are involved in accusing your husband or your wife of being a narcissist. In my most recent post, I talked about the legal relationship between the victim and what they believe. The first contract that's involved in narcissistic abuse experience, it is a real experience. I want you to know when I'm talking about this from two different perspectives. Number one, as someone who was once convinced that I was married to a narcissist. And number two, as a legal professional who navigated thousands of people through a divorce process. I have heard this language more than I care to have heard it. I have experienced this phenomenon in ways that made me deeply sensitive and compassionate towards my own clients who made the very difficult decision to leave because they understood that there was no other option. But sitting on the other side of 14 years of family practice and having seen the patterns that I've seen in my clients and in my own personal experience, I'm just doing a little whistleblowing here, y'all. It's a victim driven litigation system that is leading people to more pain, more suffering. And what infuriates me the most about it is how it's destroying children. So I'm being vocal about it because we need to begin to question the narrative around this concept of narcissism, around the phenomenon of this explosion within our population of all of these narcissists. And so I talked about it in my last post, the contract that the victim makes. So that's the belief or the agreement, because a belief is your agreement with a thought, it is your agreement with an ideal, with an idea, with a concept. So the legal contract that you have when you believe you are a victim is that you are powerless. That's the first contract. But in the second post, where I revealed the second contract, that is the villain contract. And my challenge is for all of us to really take a deeper analysis whenever we or someone else is labeling another person as a narcissist. Am I saying that this particular psychological condition does not exist? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not denying that there is such thing as clinical narcissism from the standpoint of the DSM and how all of these things have been determined by clinicians. I have always been respectful of clinicians. I have always been the attorney that refers my clients to their therapists and to their counselors. But right now, I am challenging the clinical community because I'm seeing too many of you labeling people as narcissists, people who you have not met, people have that you have not taken through any type of formal clinical assessment. Too many clinicians are using the label and the diagnosis of narcissism to relate with their patients, to confirm with their patients what their patients are experiencing. And on the other side, when your patient is coming into the legal system and is interfacing with the legal system, they are coming back with the exact ideology and ideological framework that tells them that they are powerless, that the lawyer has all of this power to punish the narcissist, that the judge is going to make the narcissist pay, and all of it is wrong. It's all a lie. It's all false. And in my second and third part of the villain victim deception series that I'm going to be talking about a lot, I share with you one of my very first clients who now has been involved in more than 20 years of frustration because it is false belief that the lawyer has all of the power, that the judge has all of the power, that we are the hero to your victim story. And in this post, I want to challenge whether you're the observer or whether you are a participant in having these conversations where someone is being labeled as a narcissist. I want you to ask a question. How many villains are in this situation? Is the person who's telling me that they're the victim, are they also a villain? Because the second contract that fuels the cycle that we call narcissistic abuse, the narcissistic abuse experience, yes, the very real experience that you're powerless and the other person is the monster and they're creating all of this suffering. It is a real experience because it is a real contract, because it is a real legally binding arrangement within your belief system. How does the victim become the villain? The victim becomes the villain, number one, by becoming the accuser. When we look at who Satan is, the prince of darkness, he's the first one we find in biblical legal precedent who is an accuser. He goes to Eve and he's like, hey, Eve, God doesn't want you knowing this stuff because he doesn't want you to be as powerful as him. That was an accusation. This is the nature of darkness. And we can reasonably conclude that when someone is engaged in the act or the practice of accusation, that they are in agreement with a form of dark power, the power to accuse. You're powerless on the one hand, so you find dark power to hurt another person. That's the first thread of the villain contract. The second legal clause of the villain contract is embitterment. It is bitterness. Bitterness is a state of darkness that takes hold of a person, and is a very, very dark energy that results from being hurt so much, so often, so deeply that you just can't forgive. You can't forgive and you'll never let it go. And this state of being creates the second chord of the villain contract, which is the power to hurt you back. I can hurt you back by not forgiving you. I can hurt you back by destroying your reputation. I can hurt you back by making you feel the pain that I felt that you inflicted on me. I now have power to harm. This is the second agreement. Now, if you've never heard any of my trainings, I talk a lot about conflict from the standpoint of the conflict that begins within. So I want to illustrate this. Can you see how on the one hand, you believe you're a victim and you're powerless? But on the other hand, you believe that the only power you have is to accuse and to not forgive and to get vengeance. By default, you are now in your own conflict cycle. You can't have peace with anybody because you are in conflict with yourself. You have two opposing beliefs about yourself. You don't admit that you are the villain because you need everyone's sympathy to empower your accusation against the villain in your story. You need to empower a hero to feel for you, to go to bat for you, to confirm with you that your experience is real. And I'm not saying that your experience is not real. What I am saying is that you're not a victim. The fact that you believe that you're a victim is the number one evidence that you are in a deception. Why? How can I say that? Well, I can say that because in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. He made his prized possession. He created this prized possession, and this possession he called man. Being mankind, male and female, he created in his image. So whenever you say to me that you are a victim, whenever you reveal to me that you believe that you are powerless, then you are deceived because you were created in the image of the most powerful source of all existence. You were created in the image of power. You were created in the image of majesty. You were created in the image of love. But you believe that you're a victim. You were deceived. You believe that you are powerless. You were deceived. You believe that the only power you have is to hurt somebody else. You were conflicted. Conflict is like math. If you take a -3 and you add it to a +3, you end up with nothing, zero, no advancement. You do not get out of toxic relationships because you are in a constant state of conflict that keeps netting you zero. You have to get all the way on one side to advance. But what most people don't want to do, most people don't want to admit that they're the villain. Most people don't want to admit that they are in agreement with a form of darkness. Most people want to feel like they're a good person. Most people want to see themselves as loving. And they don't want to admit that they are hurting the other person by accusing this person of being a narcissist, by constantly telling stories about this person not having any kind of empathy and being so broken that there is no chance that they'll ever heal, and setting up a rationale to justify abandoning this person. Most people don't want to admit that that's the kind of darkness and ugliness that they are involved in when they are walking around accusing people of being narcissists. And so I am continuing this series. The villain victim deception is mostly in blog posts. I attempted to post my AI reader video thing because my ability to read in a way that's enjoyable to you is very limited because of my own physical limitations. But my app was tweaking, like the young kids say. My app was tweaking. So this is the video to accompany today's blog post, and I'm speaking to the professional woman of faith who is struggling in your marriage. You're questioning everything, your faith. You do all of the things, you're checking off all of the boxes, but your life is still extremely frustrated. And you're like wondering, why isn't my marriage working? Why does it feel like I'm doing more and he's doing less? Where is the abundant life that Jesus promised? If that's you, then I'm talking to you. If that's you, I want to invite you to visit lawforlove.com. Monday through Friday, I'm posting content on creative conflict resolution there. And I want you to know that I understand. I want you to know that I was a professional woman of faith who was being the hero in everybody else's story while believing that I was a victim to my own narcissist. I believed that my husband was the narcissist. I believed I was his victim. And then I took those beliefs and I fueled my save the day Black girl magic self to go run in the court and save all of the other victims that I related to, because I had not yet walked into a compassionate confrontation with truth, that I was not a victim, that I am only a victor, that I am only victorious, that I am only a champion in my private space at home. I remember what it felt like being so ashamed that I'm the one that everybody comes to for answers. I'm the one that people call when they need advice. When people run into a problem, I'm the one that gets the phone call. I'm the one that's jumping in with all the answers. But at home, I was crying myself to sleep. I was feeling more lonely in my marriage than connected with my man. I remember being that person who couldn't open up about how I was hurting. Being a person in leadership, you can't go to the people that's you're leading and cry on their shoulder and tell them what's really going on with you. And that was my experience. And so I understand the professional woman of faith. I understand that you're killing it in the boardroom and you're struggling in the bedroom. I understand that you know in your head that you love your husband, but in your heart you've come to a place of hating him. But who do you admit that to? Who do you tell that you love God but you hate your husband? If that's you, then you are the one who I'm speaking to. You are the one that I am here to minister to support, to connect with, to let you know that when you come out of your own conflict, everything changes. It is really that simple. When you come out of conflict with yourself, everything around you changes. And there's a big price to pay for that, which is why a lot of people stay stuck and they hide. They don't want people to know what's really going on. And it wasn't until my very last year practicing divorce when I began to notice this pattern. Every one of my divorces in the last 12 months of my divorce practice involved couples that had been together more than 20 years, except for one. One was a 10-year marriage. Every other one, 20 years. We had a 30-year and we even had a 40-year. And these couples had a professional woman of faith. She had to be strong. She had to be faithful. She had to be loyal. She had to be there for everybody. And when she finally got to the place where she no longer recognized herself, where she was completely out of touch with herself, when she had to confront the fact that this marriage was never a real marriage, it's not a real marriage. You look like the perfect family that everybody outside, all of your neighbors and everyone at church see. You have a perfect marriage. You're such a cute couple. Your kids are gorgeous and you're dying on the inside. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you because I used to be you. I'm talking to you because I used to put my life on hold, waiting for my husband to change so that I could be happy. I was the woman who demanded and demanded and demanded and cried and hollered and we need to go get counseling and we need to go talk to the pastor and we need to go talk to the therapist and we need to go to couples coaching. I did all of that stuff until my husband retreated into his own corner. He was like, there's nothing I can do to make you happy. Brother had given up. There's nothing I could do to make you happy. He threw his hands up. And when I finally heard what he was saying, but I finally stopped caring. I stopped caring what it was that he had to say about me, what it was that anybody else had to say about me, what it was that my colleagues thought about me, what it was that people would have my name in their mouth. When I stopped caring about that, that's when everything changed. That's when I encountered truth. That's when I got free from the opinions of other people. And that is when I became irresistible to my husband. And that is when we found friendship. That's how it works. It's that simple. You come out of conflict with yourself. You are in conflict with yourself when you care more about what other people think about you than doing the thing that's in you to do. When you're not doing the thing that's in you to do because of what everybody else expects from you, you are in conflict with yourself. When you are showing up based on what everybody else defines you're supposed to be doing when you show up, rather than doing what your spirit is leading and guiding you to do, your convictions are requiring you to do. When you are operating against your convictions based on what other people got going on and what other people gonna say and what other people gonna think, you are in conflict with yourself. That's why you're fighting with your man. You are fighting with your man because you are in conflict with yourself. It's that simple. And in order to get out of that place, you have a compassionate confrontation. Now, sometimes you can compassionately confront yourself. You can sit down, pen and paper, and start telling the truth to yourself. That doesn't require you to call anybody. That doesn't require you to lay on anybody else's couch. That doesn't require you to sit up here and find all of the reasons why he's the reason for your pain. All it requires you to do is have an honest conversation with yourself. Have an honest evaluation. Have I become unforgiving? Am I seeking to make him hurt the way that he hurt me? Am I trying to get my lick back, as the young kids say? Am I telling people that he's a narcissist? Am I bitter towards him? Do I hate my husband? And when you have that conversation with yourself and you show kindness towards yourself for not being perfect, for not having all of the answers, for not having figured it all out, because you've been winning in life, right? You've been gifted, you've been talented. People look at you and you make hard things look easy because that's who you've been called to be, but you haven't been called to pretend. You haven't been called to pretend. Have a compassionate confrontation with yourself. Tell the truth and decide whether or not you want to remain the victim. Decide whether or not you want to continue being lonely in a marriage that's not working. Make a decision whether or not you care more about what other people think about the truth than you just living honestly and openly for the world to see. And whatever decision you make, you live with. That's how this works. But you can't have it both ways. If you want the conflict to end, I have several different ways that I can support you. But right now, I just want to leave this content right here. The website is lawforlove.com to learn more about me, to learn about the work that I do, to learn about the assignment on my life, to learn about my saying, okay, I'm not going to be a divorce attorney anymore. To learn why I switched sides. I switched sides. How does a divorce attorney become a person that do weddings? I'm doing a wedding next month. How did a former divorce attorney step into this, honey? I could tell. I could reverse engineer marriage, partnership, and friendship because of what I've learned through divorce. And I was called to switch sides, to support marriages, to help wives have compassionate confrontations with themselves, to help husbands develop a better and a deeper understanding of the very unique experience that we have as professional women of faith in a modern technological age where we're doing way too much. And to help us build stronger communities, one marriage at a time. So that is today's blog post. The lawforlove.com is where I'm posting Monday through Fridays in writing because that's my assignment. And I'm sorry that my AI reader was giving me an attitude today. So I decided to go live so that there is some type of content here in this space, um, driven by love. I'm driven by a commitment to my assignment. I'm driven by exposing lies. I'm tired of seeing people in and out of the courts destroying themselves, throwing their money away, and sacrificing their children. That is not justice for the brokenhearted. So, if you found this video, I'm honored to be here in this space to have a conversation with you as a professional woman of faith that's struggling, secretly frustrated, not knowing who to talk to because you can't trust people with your business. But we do have a very, very unique and special place with women in leadership who's supposed to have all the answers and you don't. And it's okay. I'm here for you. I'm posting Monday through Fridays. And I'm not reading the blog posts. Yeah, you would not enjoy my reading. But this is the story of Block for Love. I am Judge Shar, certified arbitrator, professional mediator, creative conflict resolution expert. Packing 14 years of family law experience just from a professional standpoint, having more than three decades of complex family relationship navigation. And I am here to serve everything I have with all that's in me to help you connect with yourself, resolve your internal conflict, and enjoy true connection with the people you love the most. Be blessed and encouraged.